Yeah, and that is worth noting. Widge, the one to play at the last time around, and that was a game that they ended up losing, but in defense of the Ancient Apparition, it did exactly what they sort of wanted it to do. So the AA played its role successfully, it's just that the team wasn't able to really fully capitalize on that. So against the DP and the Omni Knight for that matter, it's still going to do what they need it to, and now Infamous are going to sort of shore up maybe the damage front a little bit, hitting that Ember Spirit with the fourth selection.
Really good pickup. Of course, we saw how the lane played out before. A little bit rough. Esk is going to need to hold him to the matchup if Esk is actually the one that ends up playing this DP. And we'll have to see, because Death Prophet Tusk is not a bad offlane. If they do want to perhaps pick up Yamsun's hero here, they don't see their matchup, they might just pick something just straight up good to see what happens. They've got an Omni Knight. I feel like they're going to want another strength carry just so that way you're literally giving your carry damage. But at the same time, Tiny probably would have been the best fit if they wanted to go in that direction yet again. I hazard to say they could pick up a hero like the Ursa, just because Ursa is one of the few carries that can actually kind of get a kill underneath the Mars. Not to mention the little hop from the Aftershock makes him pretty difficult to actually spear. But do I think that they should go for that blind into the matchup with two bans remaining? Maybe not. It's just that as soon as they walk in this next hero, if it's going to be another offlaner or mid, they have to be absolutely sure here because, well, they'd see the Ember Spirit. They definitely could go for another counter pick in Esk, but okay.
Yeah.
There's a Storm Spirit. That's your offlane. Death Prophet Tusk is going to be what they go for, and Storm is one of the spirits that actually lanes pretty well versus Ember Spirit. I wonder actually how new Ember Spirit is going to play versus Storm, because again, you don't need to really get baited for those range creep last anymore. You can stay as far away as you need to be. So really, Ember versus ranged heroes has kind of changed the game now with 7-3-1.
Yeah, it makes a lot of individual matchups that before maybe would have given him trouble a lot more bearable for the Ember. If you're Wildcard, though, looking at this Storm Spirit, obviously you are going to have to be a little bit careful, right? There's a Telekinesis, there's a Spear Stun, there's a root from your Ember Spirit, but if you can avoid that lockdown, that's one of your sort of perfect heroes to just get in, maybe take the Ancient Apparition out quickly and get out. And if you find that first pick off, then you get to evaluate what you want to do beyond that point from a much stronger position. That could be the sort of pick play that leads them into successful team fights.
And now the question that Wildcard are going to be asking themselves is this Storm Spirit pick too rushed? Because, of course, you see the Wraith King immediately taken out. They could have just picked it there. They would have forced Infamous to maybe split their bans. Maybe they don't get the Ember or the Storm Spirit last pick versus the Ember, but at the same time, is the Wraith King valued even more highly? I don't know. We'll have to see. I definitely think that would have been the best hero that Yamsun could have ended up on, but Infamous, they're too smart. They've got the bans. And we'll have to see what we actually see Esk go for this game, because Orchid, well, that's your timing hero. That's why you pick it, but it's not really giving you very much mana anymore. So unless you really need it for the silence, and you kind of do with how little lockdown you have on your team, is it going to feel bad? Is it going to feel absolutely horrible? Of course, Storm Spirit's never going to be upset with having 40 attack speed, but at the same time, needing a mana item is actually quite a big problem. I'm actually really interested to see how S decides to build up, if we even see a Bloodstone or something along those lines, or if we just see normal stuff. We see Treads Kai Assange. That could also very well be the possibility we barrel towards.
Yeah, well, very interesting to see just how much he favors the, maintenance of his mana versus just going aggressive, like you said, for the Orchid play. So it might just come down to maybe how the other lanes are going. If you have a scenario where your DP Tusk duo is kind of rolling a little bit and you want to stay on the offensive, that could very much impact the way the Storm tries to build to maybe snowball further off of that. But we shall see. Before we get to that point, though, still got the last picks out from both sides. Both teams looking for presumably their carries, and Infamous are going to go for the Chaos Knight once again. This hero is really starting to receive a lot more attention. Now the Sven on the other side. So there's your sort of strength carry maybe to pair up with the Omni Knight, but Sven is not always very maneuverable, ET. If he gets a BKB, obviously that can sort of change things around, but feels like Infamous, in the early stages at least, may be able to keep him at arm's length.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little scary, I think. At the same time, you did pick up Sven versus CK. Those illusions are definitely going to die. If you can find the real one, you weed in with the Stormhammer. that all feels good. And I do feel like Wildcard needed to go for a hero like this for Yamsun. Again, I can't highlight it much how the Wraith King would have just felt like a better pick, but it's where they need an initiator. They need someone else to go in. It's the only drawback of really having this Death Prophet that early on in the draft when it gets counterpicked and you force it to be an offlaner. Well, you need to pick up your lockdown somewhere else, and that being in the carry. Unfortunately, Chaos Knight and Wraith King just seem to be the best at that job. So the Sven definitely feels kind of fisted in there, but at the same time, hey, Omni Knight Sven, old combo, you know, for old time's sake at the very least, and you are going to be giving this Sven again another 50 damage once that Heavenly Grace is maxed out. So we'll see if that's actually able to carry Yamsun through this game, or if Infamous are just kind of able to work with it, because they've got some things to answer for as well. Mid lane should go in Esk's favor, but again, I want to see how he builds. I want to see how he actually gets himself out onto the map.
Still big questions about the Storm Spirit. I'll see, but we're going to get this one underway. Game 2 of this 2-game series getting started here. Wildcard hoping for the 1-1 split. Looking to salvage some points here after just kind of a almost soul-crushing loss in Game 1. They were so close and ended up just kind of throwing things away a little bit there. So we'll see if they can get any revenge with this strat, or as you said, if Infamous are maybe just going to be able to sort of keep them under control, as don't know if we're going to see anything too crazy here. Ward's already being thrown down. Alexo, though, he is making a bit of a move here into that south side jungle, just going to see if he can compete for this rune, and he may not have to, because Lumiere's kind of hanging back a bit.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting. Of course, Lumiere wins this every day of the week, right? You just Chaos Bolt. Well, Alexo's done. At least you get a pretty expensive spell out of the Chaos Knight, but I think, honestly, this far into the patch, and I say this far, but day 3 of these games being played, teams are definitely being more focused on the bounty rune that hangs back. We're not seeing kind of that same mindless rotation towards the one in the river, and look at this. It's a big fight over that rune, and with this ward, Wildcard can definitely make the almost better assessment here, but we'll have to see who ends up getting bullied off. But with the vision Wildcard placed, actually, they get to make the right decision all across the board pretty much.
Get some damage onto Yamsun. On the other side, though, Affliction, yeah. He not only doesn't get to go for the rune, he gets taken down. That's a quick first blood to the Wildcard side. So the two supports, I mean, they're making it happen. First point up in the hammer, working pretty damn well. Alexo, meanwhile, did have to pop the tag team, but as we said in the previous game, tag team, it's the cooldown, really. The mana cost doesn't matter at all for that Tusk, and considering you're able to get first blood out of it, and it's still available by the time he actually TPs to lane, more than worthwhile.
No, definitely. And how many times you can kill A, that's kind of Alexo style here. And now that he's playing versus a 5 he can actually kill, I can only imagine he's going to start trying to play up. And once you get a few levels on Tusk, it doesn't take a lot to get him going.
A snowball hero, so pardon the pun, but it had to be done. But this is what we were talking about a little bit with the Storm Spirit build. If Devi and Alexo can get it going and put that pressure on, get a few more kills onto the AA, maybe even threaten the CK in the right circumstances, as, oops, by Courier, then your Storm Spirit might change it up a little bit. That's probably not likely. Really does feel like S kind of knows what he's doing right from the start, but the fact that you even have that option if your offlane sort of can put you in an advantageous position is something that Infamous are maybe not quite as capable of doing.
No, it's very, very nice. And ooh, unfortunately, the Wild Wing did re-aggro on the creep wave there, so this pull will be all but successful for A, which just means Lumiere gets to find his level 2 underneath the tower, and this is where you do need to be careful. Chaos Knight AA, that's a very scary combo. They actually have a very high chance of proccing that cold feet regardless on if it's a 1 or a 2-second stun, and nice plays as well. Alexo actually took one of the Wild Wings to pull and get aggro for his creep wave, so interesting equilibrium all across the board, but alone? Oh boy.
Well, he gets the kill first. Tower shot, I think, yeah, is what finishes him off after the fact, but where they both died, they are so far beyond that tier 1 tower. That's That's a crazy amount of aggression between the two, and it's almost kind of fitting that they just both go down there.
Yeah, and well, unfortunately, that really, really favors Alone. Not only do you get the XP for the kill, it means you get to step out of lane a little bit sooner, but Eska's gotta be careful. You can't really afford, but okay, then Alone just gets pulled underneath tower and makes the trade look pretty bad. But I wonder if he realizes that there is a ward up here, because I think without the ward, he might actually have survived that, because the ward actually gave vision for the tower to hit him as many times as it did, but well, it's inches in this lane, and every single pull that's successful from Esk, it's just more HP that Alone doesn't really have to play with until he hits level 6.
Meantime, up in the top lane, Yamsun getting himself into a little bit of trouble, but that's what the Omni Knight is here for. Hits him with the Grace, and Yamsun can fall back, heal with the Salve, and he should be okay. But this is going to be maybe not constant, but pretty frequent out from Infamous. It is the Mars-Rubik duo. We know exactly what this tandem wants to do, but Slayton's actually going to take a bit of a trip to the middle lane. They just want the kill. They've baited Esk in, but he doesn't have enough mana for telekinesis. This is awkward. Now he's got it, but there's no spells on Alone. He doesn't have anything off cooldown, and he wasn't in position for the right click, so unfortunately, Slayton did not do the math right there, mana-wise, and yeah, almost dies to the tower shot. That's maybe a little uncharacteristic there, but I guess they don't suffer any immediate consequences outside of not getting the kill, but that's a TP mid from your support. You really kind of did need to get that.
It's funny, yet again, Sammy Boy walks over and delivers a salve over to his mid laner, so gets to stay in lane even further. A salve that Yamsun would have also been very happy with, but giving the soul XP over to Oscar, it's why Slane makes that rotation, doesn't feel too bad about it, but okay, level 3 on Tusk, level 2 tag team, get the kill on the AA, just basic stuff.
This is sort of bully tactics at play, so they're going to do this, and Lumiere on the CK can't really do a whole lot to break it up, and for a moment, it kind of looked like Alexa wanted to go in onto Lumiere as well, but that's really not a kill they're going to be able to get all that quickly. There's 10 stick charges up on that CK as well, so probably not worth taking the risk over, but okay. Infamous want to fight. They're going to jump in onto Alexo himself. Now the snowball comes through, and Lumiere, I said he might be okay, but he is dropping dangerously low. He'll get the kill, but he will pay for it. Devi makes it a trade, more than favorable trade. Oh, okay, maybe not anymore. As over in the middle lane, Slayton rotates in. This time he's got the mana to make that play happen as Alone gets the kill, but at the same time down bot, Devi was able to turn that into a double as he took the Ancient Apparition down.
Yeah, really well played from Devi, just knowing what he can do, level 2 Spirit Siphon as well. It just works out perfectly. At the same time, they hit up mid right before, I want to say right before, but unfortunately for Esk, he's not even close to level 6. It's just the XP disparity, I think, and that's with Rubik showing up to his lane twice. But Lumiere, are you dead again?
Yes,
oh,
he
no.
is.
Well, that's a walk of shame.
That shouldn't really be possible at that point. Lumiere just too far forward. I guess not really showing respect to the Tusk. Maybe he thought Alexa wasn't actually back in lane yet, but he pushes that far forward into a 1v2 with his own support still off the map. So that's just a bit of a positional mistake from the CK, but it's a huge kill for Wildcard because we talked about this offlane being so important. If they can build up that momentum early, it would free up the other players to sort of do their thing, and well, Yamsun probably doesn't feel all that free right now. He is very much under attack, but he's going to fall back to the tier 2 and Alone, he does not have enough to go for that. The Sleight of Fist at level 2 would not have had enough damage, so they're able to survive that, but the problem is this top lane is kind of a no-go zone for a little bit on that Wildcard side.
Yeah, a lot of time, though, spent in time that Esk is definitely going to use. He hits the mid-tower a little bit, gets to farm up quite a lot of last hits, if I'm being honest. He's just able to kind of ignore what's going on here. Meanwhile, Alone, every time his rotation doesn't work, and that's a triple remnant. That's pretty much all of his farming ability. That's his reset gone. He's got one, thankfully, up right now, but it's those little misplays that end up kind of biting you. And again, okay, they have to bottom.
Yep. Try to go to Lumiere. Nice TP in from Slayton, though. They're going to try and turn this one around, but Lumiere, you don't have the health to really do this. Alone, though, is now TPing in as well, and that might be enough to turn the tide. Devi, very low on HP, trying to get away from the cold feet. Will not proc onto him. Looks like Divine Llama's going to be able to get away. Alexo might actually be making it out as well. Does Alone have the Searing Chains? He does. He may very well need them, because the Snowball is buying Alexo a little bit of extra time, but not enough. They do bring him down. Elsewhere on the map, though, Esk rotated top. So they will turn that into a trade. They sacrifice one of their supports, but they get Oscar exchange.
Yeah, and it's a nifty play from Alone there. He actually cast a Remnant in the Sleight of Fist just in case he needed the extra range, but missing on Divide just sucks just a little bit more. And unfortunately, whiffed on the rune for Esk, so... Oh, no way.
Onto 2. They
no
set
way.
up. That's a beautiful play from Sladen, but an even better defensive move from Alexo. They might actually turn this. Alone. He needs to get out of here. He's going to jump to the Remnant, but it's not going to be enough. He's still trapped inside the shards. He needs to jump a second time. He doesn't have the mana, ET. He is 7 short. I mean, that was so pretty from Sladen, but Alexo on the other side, he just shuts it all down with that snowball.
I mean, that's incredibly sick, but just not effective enough, unfortunately. But hey, it looks cool, you know, at the very least. And I guess Esk will answer my question. He is just going to go for the Orchid after Double Null. Double Null makes sense because you do need the stats. I have yet to see one of these items, Bracers, Nulls, or Wraiths alike, double in their bonuses after 25, but oh no, he's low.
Sladen. Oh, okay.
Little rush, but
We'll still get it. And Esk, you don't have a lot of mana. This is going to get a little weird, so he's just going to back himself away. But what's going on in the jungle here? There is a play onto Affliction. Ice Blast comes in, but Lumiere's not there. He sent Illusions in, but the hero himself actually backed off. So Affliction gets taken down. At this point, though, I mean, you lost Yamsun. That trade is just going to favor Infamous, and now it'll favor them even more with Sammy getting picked off up top. Oscar finds the solo kill, even without his arena. That's going to set them up for a potential push onto this Tier 1 tower as well.
Yep, and even though it's just Oscar, it's definitely damage that will be felt pretty soon here. You'd love Slane to take over the mid lane and then maybe have the Ember up here in case a bigger target shows up, but knowing that there's a Sven in the game, there most likely isn't going to be the easiest rotation, and
we're trying to hunt for Lumiere.
Yeah.
There's the shard block. Okay. Exo's going to get popped. Any TPs coming in? Yes. Oh my god, TPs are coming in. But Lumiere, he's got an armlet toggle, but with the Siphon on him, there was no opportunity to do so. Lumiere falls. Alexo does get traded eventually, but damage has already been done, and now they're just going to TP in more heroes to try and clean up the kill onto the Llama. Should be able to get it. But this is a heavy price. You've already lost your carry. You had to TP in, what, 3 heroes? And at least you get the kills at the end of the day. But that's a pretty heavy commitment in response to not a very expensive play from Wildcard.
Yeah, Alone even got his TP canceled by Esk mid, and they duked it out for just a little bit, but that's why it felt awkward, and you dragged, unfortunately, Oscar out of the top lane, meaning that, well, I was going to say Samuel gets a little bit of space than anyone else does, but that's where Lumiere will just start to fill it in, but so losing Lumiere like that, he's got 3 deaths, he's having a pretty rough start, but he is CK. He will just be able to kind of farm up with his illusions, pretty much cast it off cooldown, but as we usually say with CK, he's probably not going to see him until he gets level 12.
I mean, while for Yamsun, got his hands on the Echo Saber, so just going to keep on farming away in the jungle here. Have not seen a crazy amount of pressure onto him compared to Lumiere on the other side, so he's having a bit of a fun time, and with that Tier 1 tower surviving through all of this, this top lane it's still available. Right? Sammy was able to get 6, that's fantastic, but if Yamsun can return like he is, and now farm with even less pressure with no one even here on the opposing side, I mean, you're hitting the jackpot, right? 12 minutes in and you can still afford to farm that safe lane.
Yeah, and it's one of those situations where because Oscar left, he can never really return. He's going to need someone else to come in, help him out, and that's why we see a little bit of a gold lead emerge for Wildcard with how successful the Device lane has been, but they're playing with fire a little bit here. Oscar might not have settled in time, though, for Alexo, and they're going to try and get to Vi, but this is... You need the chains. There needs to be some setup.
Time. Snowball's coming in, but reinforcements are going to be coming. Can they get the kill fast enough? Devi should be dropping. Sammy... Oh, Sammy. I like what he was trying to do. Use the Templars Toy to get in position. Unfortunately, since he doesn't actually get there in time to save his teammate, he's now in the line of fire as well. Sladen picks up the double as your Rubik snatched away those 2 kills, but they want a third. Sammy's going to get hit by the Searing Chains into the spear. And Oscar's going to be able to clean that one up. 3 kills for Infamous. So, I was saying before, they were maybe taking too much time as the couriers will die to the tower, but Oscar's patience really does pay off there.
Yeah, and really perfect arena of blood. He was looking for both of them in, again, the arena, but actually separating the tusk like it happened just meant that Alexo had to reach so far for that snowball, so it really never came for Divine. And then, fortunately for Infamous, they had enough damage to finish him off. They had the Stolen Crypts for him, maxed out, so Sladen was able to put in even more work than I think they needed. But at the same time, that's a 4-man rotation. Lumiere gets the farm during that entire time. You don't need your CK involved. So when Lumiere does start to show up to these fights, you got to start feeling a little bit concerned here, as well as Lumiere also going for an Orchid.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. It's a whole new game, I guess. Everyone's building Orchid now, but Alone caught out. Nice return play from Wildcard. They sort of get caught by surprise down bot, but they're quick to respond. Now they're going to make their way mid. They've lost Sammy and Esk. He used a lot of mana to zip his way into that fight, which means he doesn't really have anything now to work with, but fortunately enough, the Exo from Divine Llama is going to sort of make up for that. They can still push their way forward, but that glyph, so annoying for Wildcard. They would just love to take this tower and back off, and they are still going to be able to get it. There's your good news. Infamous didn't want to push in. Do they stay at this point? They're kind of still hanging around a little bit, but I don't know if they're going to get caught out, although as I say that, Alone comes in. And Divide, he really doesn't have any help here. He might not need it. Wow, look at him. He's pushing 3 heroes back right now. I don't know if that's going to be enough for him to stay alive, but he at least takes Sladen down. And while he was doing that, his teammates pushed in through the river. They took down Oscar, and now they are here to keep the fight going. Alone's going to get hexed up. They hit him now with the Stormhammer, pull him in with the Electric Vortex to make sure he's not going anywhere. And Divide, I mean, you buy so much time in that fight. Sure, you die, but it opens the door for 3 kills going the other way.
Yep, and that's where it was literally the triple siphon. He had so much HP coming into him at the same time, and he didn't have Ice Blast. It was either on cooldown or he straight up didn't have the mana in his toolkit, and unfortunately, then the Death Prophet still feels like a Death Prophet. Not to mention, Divide just has a straight up BKB right now. He could not care less. That health regen is still not going to be there, and ooh, Oscar.
Okay.
That's a nifty play.
And look at the lift, too. Pulling him into the Ice Blast. Sammy should die, yeah. That's a nice little, I was going to say 2-man play. Technically 3 with the Ancient Apparition involved, and okay. That's not a massive game changer, but Oscar's going to get a little bit more gold. Not BKB, excuse me, Blink Dagger shown off there as he was able to blink past Sammy to go for the spear play, and the BKB is being worked on. Mars getting started on that, so at this point, Infamous may be feeling like gotta start gearing up for these fights. Lumiere is, well, not quite to that Orchid yet, but getting close, so get an Orchid on him, get a BKB for Oscar, have Alone finish off a Yule Scepter as Oscar got this, got the arena, not the spear, but Yamsun is still trapped. The root comes through, but look at Sammy throwing down the GA. Esk is now going to jump in. They're going to look to get the Ember Spirit first as they silence him up. And he's got some wand charges. That might have actually bought him enough time. He is trying to get away with the Remnant jump. That Stormhammer, though, is going to follow. And it's actually not the Stormhammer. It's a right-click from Esk that gets the job done. Either way, though, Alone gets taken down. And now Sladen really just stuck behind enemy lines here. Nothing for him to do other than just really draw this out as long as he can, but they'll take him down as well.
That's Alone, again, with the tech. It's kind of sick. I don't know how I guess he's just literally casting the Remnant in Slight, but that definitely could bamboozle you, and then suddenly you miss out on a kill on an Ember Spirit because his Remnant is another 700 units away from where it usually could be. But at the same time, without an answer to the Orchid, and he's building one right now in the Yule Scepter, he's still very vulnerable. And I think Infamous, the target just gets a little bit too wide there. Oscar not finding the immediate jump, it just gets a little bit too ugly. And unfortunately for Infamous, if Oscar misses, their kind of emergency setup is just the chains coming in from Alone. And if he gets gone on, he's more or less helpless because the supports, they're not saves. They are just simply more damage. They got to be really careful. I don't think they can afford another kind of botched jump like that. But that's where Lumiere, he can be the difference maker. He's got an Orchid of his own. He's finished up here, and he'd love a surprise kill. Not onto Divide, though.
Okay, the full Alexo in. Didn't get the kill, but look at the Ice Blast is coming in. It's going to hit onto about 2 or 3. That's not a bad play. The problem is Lumiere, he's just too far forward on the front line. No one to help him. Supports had already fallen, or fallen back rather, and now Oscar, he's not even going to get his TP off. This is turning into a disaster. Affliction has his TP canceled too, and, well, that's about as bad as that could have gone. Triple kill for Devi. He'll use the last half of the Exorcism duration to push into the pit. And Lumiere, you said, could be a game changer with that Orchid, but not if he's the only person on the front line against 4 or 5 heroes at a time. And now, Alone, be very careful here. He's going to get pulled back in by the Vortex. There's going to be the follow-up Stormhammer, and he just gets immediately blown up. There's just no defensive itemization. He still hadn't finished the Yules, and Infamous, at this point, really, the wheels are starting to fall off. They might lose another one. The Rubik has to use a Stolen Ball Lightning to get away from that one. That's always fun, but that's all of his mana used defensively, and he might not be out. They get the Snowball into the punch, and Alexo could potentially just do this himself. There's going to be the shards. It sets up Yamsun to blink in, and at this point, if you're Infamous, maybe you just kind of let this one go. Nope,
oh,
they're going to wander in one by one some more. This is straight up sloppy. Don't want to sound too harsh, but that is the only word I can think of to describe this. Infamous, it's time to stop.
No, it's very disconjointed. It just feels like they're no longer capable of killing the Roche on Wildcard, so they're just killing you instead, and they will kind of walk back in here. He's been whittled down, but again,
Alone again.
It's the vision. They just keep playing off this ward, and Infamous just keep playing into it. That's really not good, and I think finally Infamous will give. They've used pretty much everything again. Their almost third set of spells here, and the Aegis will get forfeited over the Wildcard, but man, oh man, they just did not learn.
I think about the consequences of your actions here, Infamous. I mean, they threw, what, an extra, I want to say 3 or 4 bodies at that one that did not actually serve any purpose. It didn't stop the Roche. It didn't net them any kills, didn't get them any extra farm. It just added more kills to the tally, and Wildcard get Roche, 45 seconds later than they otherwise would have. So that really just compounds even further. You take a look at the graphs at this point in the game, just shy of 20 minutes. Win probability is pretty high up there for Wildcard. Net worth and experience very much in their favor. And if you're Infamous, you don't really have a lineup that is guaranteed to farm you back into the game. Lumiere can do a lot, but there's a Sven on the other side, ET. He's going to be getting just as much, if not more, farm than that CK.
Yeah, he's rushed his BKB purchase as well, so now Oscar's arena is not really feeling as effective as it once was. You need to be finding your way onto the Storm Spirit, and maybe that's where Infamous could be saying to themselves, maybe we should have just put the Mars mid, maybe we should have just got him to rush a Yule Scepter so we can actually find the kills here, because unfortunately, and Alone,
ooh,
really good reaction.
Oh, that's a problem.
Like first one, oh no, he's on the Remnant. Well,
just outplaying Infamous right now. They set a perfect trap, and he still doesn't have this Yule Scepter, man. It is brutal for the Ember. He's died about 4 or 5 times in the last few minutes, and well, look at what that does, right? With no threat from Alone, they are pushing forward. Esco may be taken down, but even if you get him, yeah, that's the Aegis. He's coming back up, and now they need some heroes here to defend Lumiere, because he is going to try to get himself away. Esco doesn't want to let him out. Jumping forward, they've got the damage onto him. They've got the lockdown. Lumiere's dead. Now, Oscar, you're alone in an arena against 3. That is a fight he is guaranteed to lose, and this one's really just, it is out of hand, really. It's not getting out of hand. It is far beyond that point. Alone, I don't think you really want to be here. He's going to throw the Remnants, but he gets silenced first. I mean, what more can go wrong for this Ember Spirit? That is a kill. If he jumps to those Remnants, he has Esk dead. But the silence is just too clutch. He can't get away, and now they're going to lose even more. Affliction stunned up inside of his own base. They just don't care. Sladen's now trapped in the shards. This is just a shooting gallery for Wildcard. They're going to line him up and knock him down. Infamous, what happened? They are just losing all sense of cohesion here. They're running in. They're getting caught out of position. Alone. At this point, I genuinely think Alone may just be straight up tilted at this stage, because this is just going so poorly. But there's an Ice Blast onto Esk. That might be enough for the kill, so at least they pull something back. But they need more. Snowball, though, not going to allow them to get it. Lumiere's the one to get stunned up. Lumiere taken down. Oscar on the run, trying to get back to the fountain. Should be able to make it there. Nope. Stormhammer locking him down. He will die as Yamsun gets the double. But alone, he gets one kill, but now can he get himself out? No, he can't. Yamsun with the triple kill will be taken down by the spear from Oscar, as Infamous really are just rushing into this fight. At this point, I think we're getting into desperation mode. They're looking for absolutely anything they can get. And they'll kill Alexo. They push the wildcard lineup back. They only lost the tier 3, all things considered, but you really can't count that as a successful defense considering how many heroes that they actually lost.
No, it was, I think, 9 heroes at the end of the day, if you count the Ember at the beginning of all that. But at the very least, you got the godlike streak from Yamsun. A lot of gold split in between you. Unfortunately, the streak doesn't end up going to a core, but yeah, you got to be scared of the Storm Spirit still. He's got a nice little Arcane Rune bottled in. Really, he's not feeling the drawbacks too much of the patch so far. Okay, if it was the previous Orchid, he'd have another maybe 400 mana to play with, but in another 2 minutes, that Null Talisman is going to be another Null Talisman. So it's interesting to see if we do get to that stage of the game, but no building damage. They push in after the fact. I think Wildcard were really just feeling themselves, especially after the way game 1 ended. Might as well dive their tier 4s just a little bit, and uncharacteristic whiff from Esk there, but now they do need to refocus a little bit. The next Exo needs to be spent on this top racks, and can only imagine that's where they're going to look next. If not, then they're just going to farm and look probably towards the newest Aegis timing. But meanwhile, Lumiere, this is such a thin CK. With his item build, he really doesn't have very much stats. Nice Shadow Blade away, though. He just picked this up, so this is going to be way harder to track down. I don't even know if Alexo has Dust. No, he's buying it right now. Literally just saw the purchase, but at the same time, Lumiere is just, no, he's not the stat king. He is all about damage. He's all about finding the initiation. If it connects onto heroes like the Storm Spirit, then maybe this is going to be a worthwhile purchase, but I'm very concerned. We're going to need to see at least another item for him progression-wise before I think we can really expect him to fight at full force.
They need more time to build this up, but while they're waiting, Wildcard are on the hunt. They're looking for a fight. Esk sees a target. He's going to zip in onto kind of nobody a little bit. They do have Affliction now. They're going to try and get him, but the defensive play from Sladen will pull his teammate out. The problem is Oscar is the one stuck on the front line, and he's silenced. There's no arena coming out. Malone's going to try to jump in, though. Triple Remnant forward. The Ice Blast is really not going to hit onto anyone, actually. Esk and Alexo both jumped away, and now on the back line, this is a problem. Divine Llama went in. They're able to take down a couple of heroes. Divine may die for this, but at this point, Infamous's defense has kind of been shattered. They're falling back. They're going to lose the racks in this top lane. And Lumiere, I don't know if there's really any opportunity for him at this point. Devi is kind of low, but I don't think you could get him in sort of one swing. And, well, now you definitely can. Exorcism heals up Divine Llama, and Wildcard are going to look for a second lane.
Yeah, and really, maybe if A had known to save his blast, it's just every single time they know that the Ancient Apparition Ice Blast is off cooldown, then well, suddenly you're running in with the Divide. You're literally blinking in with BKB, and then you're unkillable. And on the back line, they look, but Electro reacted too fast.
Snowball into Waller's Punch. Lumiere's going to get pulled in now by the Electric Vortex, and he's dead. No buyback on the CK. Yeah, tip Alexo on that one. He turns that around completely, and Defy, he's going to get the kill. He's past the damn tier 4s.
Yeah, that's it.
There it is. The GG called. Wildcard maybe a little pissed off after letting a win slip through their fingers the last time around. They come out on fire in this one. 26 minutes. They force the GG, and they will take the 1-1 split.
Yeah, and a very different Infamous than what we saw versus Four Zoomers, and we'll see with Four Zoomers' continued stint in the Phase 2 whether it might have been a different Four Zoomers, because after this performance, Wildcard were just playing with their food. I'll be honest, with this team specifically, Esk and Devi, oh boy, that early game, they just were doing everything they wanted. Alexa, no slouch either. He's the one who was setting up for the majority of those kills. That was just incredibly well played, and they really snowballed that early game into pretty much everything. But man, it's hard to bring too much attention to it, but Alone was broken in this game. He had really nothing. He had not too much to play around. He was playing so far behind his opponent's timings. There's never a point in this game where he really just needed to stop. He was working on this Yule Scepter for, I think, 10 minutes before he had it. Meanwhile, you're picking up luxury items, you're picking luxury items on top of luxury items. And I think really what broke Infamous's back here was just that continued fight around the Roche Pit, where it definitely felt like Wildcard were pushing it. They were pushing the agenda. They didn't have Exo, they didn't have God Strength, they really didn't have anything. But because Infamous went in so hastily, they kind of just threw away what could have been a kind of turning point in the game, and it just ended up being an overwhelming advantage for Wildcard.
Yeah, a situation where Wildcard may have been overreaching a little bit, but Infamous kind of bailed their opponents out by throwing their bodies into a poor situation. And at that point, we can see on the graph, yeah, at that point, that's kind of your point of no return, really. It's just too much of a shift against you. We were mentioning Lumiere sort of still needed one more item for quite a while and never really got the chance to pick it up. So Infamous, I think they just got a little, as you said, broken. They kind of just lose track of what they needed to do to stay in this game. And credit to Wildcard, they absolutely took advantage. The second they recognized that Infamous have sort of shifted the mindset too much, they just kind of shut them out.
Yeah, and we'll have to see. Now, what happens? I think Wildcard are definitely going to be happy just getting the game, especially in such a triumphant roar, because I feel like that's maybe our eighth or ninth game that's been under 30 minutes. These games, they just finish either so quickly or we see them going towards that 50-minute mark. There's really no in between.
Yeah, it's been well, kind of the nature, especially since the new patch dropped, but a little bit before that, honestly, as well in the first half of this group stage. But we shall see if that trend continues. Moving into our final series of the day, it is going to be 4 Zoomers taking on the Cut. So we'll be closing things out with an all NA matchup here as we are rolling right along. Only about 10 or 15 minutes out from the start of that series, and a series that the Cut desperately needs some points in. They need at least one win in this series to avoid just being outright eliminated and failing to get to Phase 3. So quite a bit on the line for them. We'll see if the shot at not just staying alive, but also taking down a regional rival in 4 Zoomers will be enough to motivate them to put together a strong performance. But that series will be coming up in just a little bit. So ET and I will step away for just a short break. We'll be back to get that final best of 2 started in just a bit.